Hi everybody, my name is Chris Forbes. Today is Thursday, February 9th, 2012, and this is my Believing and Recovery video for today. Topic from Experiencing God Day by Day today is called Encounters with God. It says, "But rise and stand on your feet, for I have appeared to you for this purpose, to make you a minister and a witness for both of the things which you have seen and of the things which yet I will yet reveal to you." That comes from Acts chapter 26, verse 16. God was working in your life long before you began working with Him. The Lord knew you before time began, and He knew what He wanted to do with your life. Before the Apostle Paul's conversion experience on the road to Damascus, Jesus already knew Paul and had a specific assignment for him. But Jesus only revealed this assignment after Paul's conversion. So misguided was Paul that in his sincere efforts to serve God, he had actually been waging a war against Christians. Although God knew what He wanted for Paul, He waited to reveal it to him until he gained his attention and became his Lord. Our Lord does not come to us to discover what He would like to accomplish for Him. He encounters us in order to reveal His activity and invite us to become involved in His work. An encounter with God requires us to adjust ourselves to the activity of God that has been revealed. God never communicates with us merely to give us a warm devotional thought for the day. He never speaks to us simply to increase our biblical knowledge. Our Lord has far more significant things to reveal to us than that. When God shows us what He is doing, He invites us to join Him in the work He is doing. Are you prepared to meet God today? Don't seek to hear from God unless you are ready to ask, as Paul did. What shall I do, Lord? I've had an encounter with God, and I have encounters with Him every day. As I get the little devil on one shoulder and the little angel on another, and it happens all the time. That devil tends to be really heavy sometimes, and really convincing. I have my problems with a lot of stuff from my past, and yesterday we discussed being anxious for nothing and just trusting in the Lord. And it just reminded me of it because there was an AA topic in the book that I'm reading from next. It says something about your Mr. Hyde. And I pray to God that I have the knowledge, the wisdom, serenity, and just the strength to let my Mr. Hyde just die away. That I will always do what it is I'm supposed to be doing. That I can stay focused on staying clean and staying productive. And my encounters with God, I believe, have really changed me, because prior to my encounters with God, I was just out there pretending that everything was okay. I was always sick, always running from something. The devil had a firm grasp on me. And, just a small testimony, just earlier this morning I had a very horrible thought come to mind. Some lustful, disgusting stuff. And I said it to myself, and I was speaking to the devil. I said, "You have no control over me. You are a disgusting, pathetic, pitiful, sorry little man. And I have God with me, and I don't fear you anymore." And that's exactly how it is. I don't fear the devil. I know that God will take care of me as long as I show faith, and I don't have to worry about any of that, because I know that nobody and nothing can destroy my soul unless I allow it. And I've given my soul to God, so now I know it's safe. God never communicates with us merely to give us a warm devotional thought for that day. I like that, because He gives you subtle little notes, but He doesn't expect subtle little responses. The things that we're supposed to be doing in this world are supposed to be huge. We're supposed to be getting out there and providing this world with a sense of what God is. Those of us who understand the calling and who have accepted it know very well to know that God doesn't send us here to fail. He doesn't send us here to do simple little baby tasks. We're here to prophesy, to heal, and to share the words of God with this world, because there's so many people who need to hear it. My encounter with God has definitely changed my life for the better. Daily reflection for February 9th is called Getting the Spiritual Angle. How often do we sit in AA meetings and hear the speaker declare, "But I haven't yet got the spiritual angle"? Prior to this statement, he had described a miracle of transformation which has occurred in him, not only his release from alcohol, but a complete change in his whole attitude toward life and the living of it. It is apparent to nearly everyone else at the present that he has received a great gift, except that he doesn't seem to know it yet. We well know this questioning individual will tell us 6 months or a year hence that he has found faith in God. That comes from a book called The Language of the Heart, page 275. A spiritual experience can be the realization that a life which once seemed empty and devoid of meaning and joy is now joyous and full. In my life today, daily prayer and meditation, coupled with the living of the 12 steps, has brought about an inner peace and a feeling of belonging which I was missing when I was drinking. I like this, the spiritual angle. I really believe I'm getting it. Like, I've slipped a few times, but the fact is I haven't actually gone back. You know, I relapsed about a month ago, and we're down to about 5 or 6 days away, and I'll have reached my first 30 days. But this right here is such a beautiful topic, because a spiritual experience can be the realization that a life which once seemed empty and devoid of meaning is now joyous and full. That's the way I feel now. Like, when I feel like I'm doing what God wants me to do, when I'm taking care of my family, when I'm being responsible and staying clean and sober, and staying focused on doing something positive, my life does seem joyous and full. I feel free. You know, I don't have to worry about, is someone going to catch me being stoned, or is someone going to find out that I've been drinking. I don't have to feel ashamed when I go to the fridge for something to eat and I grab a bottle of Bahama Mama and drink that at 2 in the afternoon rather than eating. You know, I'm very, very aware that I have the spiritual angle now, that I am now growing in that. I haven't started working on my 12 steps yet, but I definitely will. And I thank God that there is such a program in this world, because I don't think that I would have had any hope if people would not have done their work in God, because I wouldn't have learned. Ooh, very interesting topic from Encouragement for Prosperity for today. It's called Managing Credit. This one says, I had plastic surgery last week. I cut up my credit cards. That comes from Henny Youngman. To cut up one's credit cards may feel like an emotional amputation, because some of us have had our identity in those pieces of plastic. Now is the time to start feeling good about yourself, with or without credit cards. There is nothing wrong with credit as long as people can pay their bills comfortably. It's only when credit cards get out of hand, the debts soar, the feelings of shame and guilt overtake the spender. You are still a fine person. You're not a sum total of your debts. You can get help to learn how to pay your debts and manage your credit. Yes, it may cause pain, but recovery is worth it. I'm going to turn this down just a little bit. That was a band called For Today, if you happen to like it. The song's called Devastator, and the album's called Breaker. Prior to that, that was called I Am Forgiven by Sanctus Real. A really nice mellow one that everyone probably liked a little more than this one. And daily affirmation for today, from a managing credit topic, is called I can release my shame and find help to learn to be comfortable with credit. Again, this says I can release my shame and find help to learn to be comfortable with credit. So my response to this is I don't really have any credit cards. You know, I've just spent money that I've had in my life, really, and I had credit when I was younger, and I got in trouble with a lot of phone bills and getting free phones here and there, and that really caught up with me. But and I'm still paying it off. But I don't really need a credit card, and there are many of us who do have these problems with credit cards, and I really sympathize with you, because I am getting debt collector calls from my medical bills and such. And the only way I can really respond to this, and the only suggestion I can make, is to focus more on handling the debts and getting things resolved than momentary pleasures like going out. Rather than spending $60 on a date one night, just pay a bill or pay that towards a bill. And I'm now just barely, after 29 years almost, I'm just barely starting to grow up and be a little more responsible. I'm actually setting aside some debts and some automatic payments and stuff. And that works really good, because I have direct deposit with my employer, and that's very good. For those of you who do have credit card problems, I would suggest cutting them up like that and throwing them in the garbage. And but if you can manage it, then by all means do it. But I like that. I would suggest cutting up your credit cards and tossing them in trash if you can't manage it. Last but not least, today's topic for Easy Does It is called emotions. We know too much and feel too little. At least we feel too little of these creative emotions from which a good life springs. That comes from Bertrand Russell. A fear of dealing with deep emotional experiences must not become a retreat from our reality. We can't stick our heads and our hearts in the sand and avoid experiencing our emotions and still hope to grow in the program. Only robots are emotionless, unable to grow and change. We need energy to make the spiritual growth we desire, to which we aspire. All emotions are sources of energy. None are static. Power emerges from every emotion, be it positive and constructive or negative and harmful. The power unleashed by our emotions will fuel spiritual growth if we use it correctly. We need to steer the energy of dangerous emotions such as fear and anger into beneficial channels. We need to keep emotions like love and humility from becoming excessive. And the affirmation here at the bottom is, I am fortunate enough to have found a way to deal with positive and negative emotions through my recovery program. Again, that says, I am fortunate enough to have found a way to deal with my positive and negative emotions through my recovery program. So, I really have to agree with the first thing here. It says, we know too much and feel too little. At least we feel too little of those creative emotions from which good life springs. I think a lot of us are more disappointed in some of the emotions we have, so we kind of try to box them up, and that's really dangerous because that leads to a lot of kind of explosive reactions to stuff. You've got to grasp, embrace, and feel these emotions. This is something someone talked about last night in a dinner that I went to. You've got to express those feelings. You've got to feel them and just let them be. But then it's also very productive to move on. I used to write a lot of poetry, and I think that I really need to start doing that again. Pardon me. I used to write a lot of poetry, and I believe I need to start doing that again because when I was doing that, I had a lot of emotion pouring out of me. But I was also really young and angry, so I think I had more than I do now. But, like that poem I shared yesterday in the video, stuff like that just comes out of all the feelings I'm having now. And the thing I'm in now is just this whole stomping down into the gates of hell and kicking the door open and letting everybody out and just freeing them. But in order to do that, it has to be God's will, for one. Number two, it has to be something I'm capable of doing. So I believe that I'm just in a growth period now of becoming sober and learning what sobriety really is, because I've never really stacked up a lot of sobriety on my own, without being locked up or, just broke. I've never really willingly put together more than a year of sobriety or so. We can't stick our heads and our hearts in the sand and avoid experiencing our emotions and still hope to grow in the program. We just talked about that really. You have to be able to feel those emotions and stuff because that's what makes us who we are. Only robots are emotionless and unable to grow and change. We need energy to make the spiritual growth to which we aspire. All emotions are sources of energy. See, that's exactly what it means, is you can't just let a little slip up, like a little failure or relapse. You can't let that destroy you, because if you really, really want to grow, use that mistake. Take that mistake, whether you've been sober for 2 months and you had a drink of alcohol, or, you went and cheated on the person that you were committed to. Use that mistake to bounce right back. Because, those little mistakes are the devil's way of saying, I've got you now, I've got you now. Are you going to really let him have you? No, the answer to that is no. You've got to fire back and say, I slipped up, I screwed up, but that does not define me. The way I'm going to define myself is by standing back up, dusting myself off, and getting back in the fight. Because it's really not easy, and very few people make it after they go so far down. But I personally believe in you. If you're watching this video, I know that you can do this, because these are things that God has put into our hands so we can do these things to help other people. And I know for a fact that if you slip, it's not the end of you. I wouldn't be sitting here right now, because I've slipped more times than anybody would ever believe. And by the grace of God, here I sit, sharing these things with you. We need to steer the energy of dangerous emotions such as fear and anger into beneficial channels. I just basically covered that. We need to keep emotions like love and humility from becoming excessive. it's good to be humble, but you can't be depressed. You know, you can't believe that you're never going to be good enough and that you are only, you know, some lowly life form. You know, you need to give yourself a little bit of love. And I just really want to go over the daily affirmation here at the bottom of the page again. I am fortunate to have found a way to deal with positive and negative emotions through my recovery program. When you have a positive or negative emotion, write it down and just go over it and study it. What are you going to do to make it better? Thank you for watching. God bless you. Stay sober.